I request Sri Arun Kumar Singh, Principal Accountant General, Accounts and Entitlement, to kindly deliver the welcome address.
Shri Naveen Patnaik, Honorable Chief Minister Odisha, Shri Sanjeev Hota, Chairman ILPA Odisha Chapter, my colleagues sitting on the dais, Shri HP Das, retired ADI, Shri SK Mishra, retired PAG Odisha, officers from the central and state government, officials from the AG offices, ladies and gentlemen, it is my proud privilege to welcome Shri Naveen Patnaik, Honorable Chief Minister Odisha, who has found time from his busy schedule to be present here with us this morning. We are extremely grateful to you, sir, for agreeing to be our chief guest on this occasion. We also welcome Shri Sanjeev Hota, retired IAS officer, who is presently Chairman of Odisha Chapter of Indian Institute of Public Administration. Shri Hota will participate in the panel discussion, role of CAG in addressing governance deficit in the country. I welcome Shri HP Das, retired ADI, and Shri SK Mishra, retired PAG Odisha, who have come on this function. We are celebrating 150th anniversary of our institution when world over there is a rising clamor for responsive governance and effective action to curb corruption. Whether it is revolution across the Arab world, the ongoing Occupy Wall Street protests in the US and Europe, or Anna Hazare movement in our country, there is a common thread running through them all. Failure of governments and corporations to create a system of fair, honest and transparent policies and practices. No democratic government and no responsible corporate can avoid addressing these issues head-on. As far as governments in India are concerned, both union as well as state, CAG plays a pivotal role in ensuring accountability. In this context, I would like to quote Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, the author of Indian Constitution, who, while talking about CAG, said in the Constituent Assembly, I quote, "Personally speaking for myself, I am of the opinion that this dignitary or officer is probably the most important officer in the Constitution of India. He is the one man who is going to see that the expenses voted by Parliament are not exceeded or varied from what has been laid down in the Parliament in what is called Appropriation Act. If this dignitary is to carry out the duties, and his duties, I submit, are far more important than the duties of the judiciary, he should have been certainly as independent as the judiciary," unquote. The origin of auditing is as ancient as the origin of organized governance. The Arthashastra provides detailed guidelines on the manner of accounting and verification of accounts. During the medieval period, the Mushrif and Mustafi performed the accounting and auditing functions respectively. In the year 1857, it was decided by the erstwhile British government to constitute a combined department called General Department of Accounts of India and appoint Accountant General to Government of India. The decision was implemented in the year 1858. Later, the post was redesignated as Auditor General in 1860 and further as Comptroller and Auditor General in 1884. While Sir Edward Drummond took over charge as the first Auditor General in 1860, the last was Sir Bertie Monroe Steig, who handed over reins on 14th August 1947, just before our independence. Sri V. Narahari Rao was the first Indian to be appointed as Comptroller and Auditor General of India in the year 1948. Framers of our constitution enshrined several provisions in Articles 148 to 151 to ensure that the CAG is able to conduct his work in an impartial and upright manner. Article 148 confers upon the CAG the same immunities from executive action as accorded to a Supreme Court judge. Articles 149 and 150 define his duties and powers. Article 151 prescribes that his reports are to be submitted to President / Governor and placed before the respective legislatures. Later on, in CAG Duties, Powers and Conditions of Service Act 1971, his powers were further elaborated and he was vested with greater authority to conduct audit more efficiently and effectively. To reduce governance deficit plaguing both the union government and state governments, apart from strong political will, there is a need for simplification of governance processes and procedures informed by principles of transparency and accountability. Our audits have always endeavored to highlight the grey areas needing greater transparency that are sometimes abused by the unscrupulous elements in the decision-making setup for private gains at the cost of public interest. Similarly, due to gaps in accountability structure, we are unable to pinpoint the level at which a lapse in expenditure of public funds has occurred. These instances are also mentioned in our audit reports. It is enjoined upon the government to act on such observations from audit and take corrective action. Sometimes that may entail not only issuing fresh guidelines or orders, but also taking legislative measures to bring laws in tune with the current reality and requirement of good governance. As far as Odisha government is concerned, sir, I am happy to mention that in recent times, greater transparency has come in government offices and accountability structure has got a boost as a result of disciplinary and punitive action against some erring officials. I will urge you, sir, to continue this process, taking advantage of insights and specific observations in our audit reports. In the end, I thank you once again to be our chief guest in this function today and encourage us with your presence. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.